Hello and welcome to another episode of Autogefuehl, today with me AJ. As you can see, today we have with us the Mercedes EQB, Mercedes' answer to the Tesla Model Y. Of course, up front it looks very similar to the GLB, as it should, because it is based on the same platform. In fact, it's the electrified version of that vehicle, but it brings that EQ design philosophy, and we see that right here in the front with this panel grille. Similar to the EQA, there's also an LED strip that runs right across the top. A good plus point is with the EQB, you do get multi-beam LED lights as standard. I really like the rear design of the EQB and generally the GLB as well. I think it has a very big appearance, but then when you take a closer look, you realize, hey, wait a minute, this is quite a compact vehicle. Very upright tailgate. And remember I was telling you that this is a smidge longer than the GLB, and well, that's because in order to keep that EQ design with this long LED strip right across the middle, they have had to redesign the tailgate. So this tailgate is a little bit more rounded here, and in the GLB, the number plate was tucked away here, but now it's down here. And in order to put the lights to illuminate the number plate, they've had to redesign the bumper, and this lip is what gives it that tiny extra length overall. A nice shiny scuff plate here, which kind of reflects in this little crevice along the bottom of the tailgate. You get an automatically lifting tailgate. And of course, like the Tesla Model Y, you can get this in 7 seats. Pretty compact, and we'll see how useful the third row really is. But of course, as you see, with all the 3 rows up, this is a dismal amount of boot space. Really, you can fit a couple laptop bags, but definitely, considering this is a family car, there's no way you can get a big diaper bag or a baby stroller back here. But of course, you can tumble these 2 seats easily with these red tabs, and they do fall completely flat. In fact, if you have the 5-seater version, there's a little bit more room liberated here. And therefore, if you put those the second row in the 5-seater down, the maximum carrying capacity then becomes 1,710 liters. So here we have the key fob, but you get keyless entry, so you can put it in your pocket, approach the car, put your hand in the handle, and then the doors unlock. The door opens really nice and wide. Materials are really nice and soft. Of course, you get the Artico leatherette and the microfiber here in the AMG line. Nice solid controls, of course, the seat controls right there. Pretty decent sized door pockets as well. And the cabin of the EQB also is really cool. I like this A-Class platform. I think the Mercedes interior design in general nowadays with the current generations are really spot on. The seats are also really well contoured. Again, you have microfiber in the middle to give you that grip. And you can get full animal-free interiors as well. So definitely with an electric car and animal-free interiors, I think that's a really sustainable way to go forward. Anyway, let's hop inside and take a closer look. Great, now cockpit overview. I really like the steering wheel. You have a perforated grip on the side, a flat bottom, it's fairly large. Something that we are very used to. I do like the rose gold finishes along the inside. And you have a lot of controls on the steering wheel. You have, thankfully, a lot of buttons and different kinds of toggle switches, but also a nice capacitive trackpad as well. This is for the instrument cluster and the assistance systems. On the right side, we have controls for your main infotainment system. There are paddle shifters, but this is for the regen or the recuperation braking, and you can set the intensity of that. If you take a look at the instruments, well, of course, this is the top end, the 10.25 inch screens, the dual 10.25 and 10.25, and you can control many different aspects of this right here. Like I said, with this trackpad in the middle, you can also choose different views themselves. So right now we're in the progressive view, but for example, if I want something more sporty, you can select that, and the visuals will change accordingly. There's also a great head-up display, which gives you very useful information regarding the assistance systems and the speed and the navigation. There's a lot of settings as well for this, which you can control from your steering wheel. On the main infotainment screen, you have a lot of different options. For example, you have the EQ specific menu where you can see things like charging options, energy flow, I'll talk more about this later on, but the car is very intelligent. There's the Eco Assist and the electric intelligence programs, which tries to optimize every drive. You also have a really nice navigation system, as you can see, with also that nice kind of augmented reality turn-by-turn instructions that we see also in the EQA. There's some pretty cool comfort features like seat kinetics. This is not seat massage, but it kind of just makes very small, slight movements in the side bolstering, in the base of the seat, just to kind of keep you a little bit more comfortable. So I like that. And of course, you have different apps and connectivity options, as well as smartphone mirroring with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Really nice turbine-shaped vents with LED lights in the center stock, along with nice design here in the center dash with more lighting. Climate control buttons down here, so really nice again to see buttons for that. A tambour door with slides to show a couple beverage holders and an inductive phone charger and a USB-C port as well. There's a great trackpad here in the middle, which has sound and haptic feedback, so you can scroll through the menus. There's also shortcut buttons all around the side, a roller for the volume and the driving modes, and a nice palm rest so that you can operate these systems very comfortably. The armrest also opens to show a very nice cubby hole with 2 USB-C ports. All right, let's take a look in the back seat. So first of all, the door opens really nice and wide. The materials are also really nice, but this is a very versatile platform. This opening is wide enough to easily fit your child seats. And speaking of which, there are 1, 2, 3, and 2 in the back. So there's quite a lot of places to mount child seats. The bench is also fairly flat and wide and accommodating. Getting inside is also fairly easy thanks to that higher ride height. But like we saw in the EQA, because of the battery placement under the floor is a little bit raised, and that means that you are in a little bit of a knees up position back here. You don't have any underthigh support. The bench itself is not too far, it isn't very long, so yeah, it's not the most comfortable. Sliding my feet under the front seat is also a little bit tight because, again, of that higher floor here of the battery. But I'm 5'8" or 1.73 meters. The seat is set to my driving position, so I can very easily sit behind myself. In fact, I can even slide the bench forward a little bit to liberate more space in the back, to carry more luggage, or give a little bit more room to the rear passengers. I can also change the angle of recline of the backrest to make it the most comfortable for my needs. All right, let's take a look at the third row. There's a tab here to push the seat forward. Getting in, honestly, is quite tight and tricky, as you can see. So really best suitable for children, and again, because of the ISOFIX seat anchors. And the middle row actually doesn't slide all the way back now that I have pulled it back towards myself. So I am getting a little bit extra knee room. I tested it, but still, even if this wasn't coming all the way, if this was coming further back, I would actually have just about enough knee room to sit here. The seats are really low to the ground, so really low to the floor. I have really no underthigh support. My knees are really up high, and there is really no headroom. I'm touching the roof liner, but for short distances, for smaller people and kids, definitely usable. I don't have an AC vent here. You do get AC vents in the middle row, but I do have cup holders. So again, for the size that you have, it's very smartly utilized. So the EQB is going to be launched in 2 variants, the 300 4MATIC and the 350 4MATIC. They're both very similar. They both have a 66.5 kilowatt hour battery. There will be a long-range version later on. Now, they're both dual motor systems, so they're all-wheel drive, but they differ in the final output. So for example, the 300 4MATIC makes a combined output of 168 kilowatts or 228 PS, whereas the 350 is 215 kilowatts or 292 PS. AC charging time is 5 hours and 45 minutes. DC quick charging is 32 minutes. There will also be a little bit more economical, and a little bit more affordable rather, front wheel drive version only. And of course, as you can see, this is the same GLB platform, so a lot of the electronic systems are right here in the front. All right, so the Mercedes EQB 350 4MATIC. That's what we're driving. This has the 292 PS or metric horsepower combined output. And of course, it's a very heavy car, but that's a pretty decent and a pretty healthy number. And we're here out on the highway, so let's just talk a little bit about the highway mannerisms. So first of all, there's a lot of assistance systems to help you, munch through those miles really easily. You have adaptive cruise control, you have lane keeping assist, you have traffic sign recognition, and all these systems work in conjunction to give you this kind of semi-autonomous highway cruisability. So effectively, the car is driving itself, it's checking for safe distance with the car in front, it's keeping me in the middle of the lane and making steering adjustments automatically, as you can see. If the speed limits change, it will also adjust the speed accordingly. In terms of NVH, that's noise, vibration, and harshness, it takes a little bit of time to calibrate yourself to an electric car, at least for me personally, since I don't drive this on a regular basis. And coming from my standard petrol engined car to this, I do feel like there's a little bit more tire noise, and that's because you don't feel the vibration and the sound from that engine constantly droning. But all said and done, it is fairly quiet, it's fairly hushed, and the seats are also really comfortable. You have a lot of adjustment, including extending the under-thigh support, the side bolstering, it's all electronically adjustable. You also have tilting and telescopic steering wheel adjustment, so finding a comfortable position is really easy. Because this is a SUV, you sit fairly up high, so you get a really nice visibility of the surroundings. And thanks in part to that tall front straight windshield, as well as the very nice tall windows on the left side and the right side. Even the sunroof does help bring in some light directly on top of me, so it does feel like I have a really good visibility. Out the back as well is really good, thanks to that tall and upright rear window. So now you see that the speed has come down to 100. The car is automatically adjusting that speed for me. And yeah, it's very comfortable, very, very easy to munch those miles away. But it's an electric car, so range anxiety, right? Let's talk about that, because this has a lot of smart systems to help eke out every ounce of that juice that you have in that battery. There's the Eco Assist, there's the electric intelligence, and it's a really complicated software. So what does it do? Right now, we're navigating south from Sindelfingen towards Immendingen, and the software is, first of all, calculating the most economical route. It's taking into consideration things like the temperature. So, for example, if the temperature in a certain route is a little bit better, if it's a little bit warmer on a cold day like this, it might pick that if the trade-off is worth it, because it doesn't have to spend that much electricity warming up the interior of the car. If I have to climb a hill, then it will manage how much battery is necessary to make that climb. So maybe it will limit some of the air conditioning functions or some of the speed or the acceleration right now to save enough battery to reach that mountain and climb it effectively. If I do have to make charging stops on the way, it will also determine which is the best charging spot, which has the most available chargers, and also how long I need to charge. Maybe I don't need to stand there and wait for the whole 100%. Maybe just to make it to my destination, I need 20% here and maybe 20% there. And so it calculates so many different things. It also has automatic mode for the recuperation, the regen brakes here. So it will decide based on the topography, the altitude, the temperature, the driving style, everything, and decide of whether it needs to have a really harsh recuperation, like we're going downhill right now. And basically it's a super smart system. And it really is, it gives me confidence that, while I might not be the most smart in terms of, having the best range and getting the most out of that battery, at least the car is. And it will guide me and it will make sure that I reach my destination without being stranded. So that's pretty cool. Of course, the range on this version right now is not as high as, say, the Model Y, but again, part of the upcoming versions, there will be a long-range version as well. Steering also has pretty good feedback and feel. We'll try to drive around on some more winding roads to give you more feedback on that. But again, with the dual motors, you have all-wheel drive, and even here, the smart systems will decide which motor should be used for what during what part of your driving to ensure that it's the most economical. And overall, the suspension is also managing the weight of this SUV really well. On the highway here, when I go across different surfaces, I don't really feel a big change. It controls the weight also thanks to that battery being low down. There's a low center of gravity. This also really helps the suspension manage it better because there's the center of gravity isn't really high. So all in all, on the highway, thanks to the electric intelligence system and these very comfortable NVH levels and the suspension and the seats, the EQB is a great SUV to take on long drives. So we're just driving through a little village, and I really like that electric intelligence, that eco assist system, especially with this automatic recuperation, because as I'm approaching a roundabout, for example, it automatically slows me down. So you really don't really have to use the brakes all that much. Now we're on some slightly faster moving country roads, so let's test out the steering and the dynamic capabilities a little bit. And well, thanks to this compact dimensions, it's really easy to place in the middle of the lane, so it doesn't feel like it's too big for smaller roads, especially in the city and also on narrower country roads. It feels like it fits in very easily. The steering is very direct. You get very nice linear control. Feedback is not fantastic, so it is fairly numb. It does get a lot of weight, especially on the highway. It is a very heavy steering, but I don't get too much of very sporty feedback like you would get from certain other sportier cars. But the stiffer suspension and that low center of gravity, for example, when we're going around this right-hand bend, means that there isn't too much body roll, And because of those dual motors, you also sometimes get that little bit of a push from the rear, and there's always a lot of traction. Electric cars have great torque right from the get-go, so you have fantastic acceleration thanks to that four-wheel drive system. So overall, I think it's a really great package. There are compromises, of course, in terms of the seat space in the middle row because of the higher floor, and the third row is really tight, but then again, that getting into this because it's a GLB, it's not a GLE or a GLS, or the GLB platform. So it's a really well-packaged, well-rounded product, but you cannot expect it to be as efficient as Tesla Model Y, for example. I mean, right now we're getting 26.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and we've been driving for just about an hour and a half for about 100 kilometers, mostly on the highway, but everything was in eco. In fact, in the eco mode, it's a bit cold inside, even though I've put the temperature up to a nice balmy 22 degrees centigrade. It's not the warmest, but that's the point. Even with all these ecosystems running, the efficiency is not that high. But on the other hand, you get really good technology with the smart systems. You get a head-up display. You get a car which is a lot more capable in terms of dynamic handling capability. And overall, you get that nice premium badge and this very nice infotainment and instrument cluster, which although the Teslas are really cool with the big screen in the middle and so on, I really do like the Mercedes, these two landscape screens and the head-up display. I like to have my instruments here, and therefore I think maybe this would be a version that I personally would prefer, but I want to know what you guys think. Put it down in the comments below.